We are live. Happy Monday. Happy Mummy Mondays from Social U Digital. We are back with the third episode of the third season. Yay! With my dear friend Nyell Judy, who we will be speaking with today on her new journey as a new mom with her beautiful daughter. And I'm so excited to get into that conversation. We're going to wait for some people to come in and join the conversation. I'm so excited to dig into her story and also share resources. And I'm so excited for those of you who are going to engage and ask questions. And even if you're watching the replay, still ask questions. We will, you know, address them and engage with you even after. So before we officially start, I want to welcome you, Nyell. Welcome you to Mummy Mondays on the platform. Thank you so much for accepting the invite. How have you been today?
Today was good. I've been excited for this conversation. In what we call the fourth trimester, so still taking it very, very slow. Many sleepless nights still. So today I coasted into the day. I took a nice walk in nature and went to Target.
Hey.
And yeah, just spent some quality time with my mom and my baby, and
Yeah,
good
the
day.
weather's getting so nice. I know last week it was a little like iffy. They were saying 70, 80 degrees. I don't know if it did that this weekend. I hope everybody had a nice Easter,
Yeah.
Resurrection Sunday, but it seems to be getting warmer this week. And I'm really excited about those walks because
Yes.
those walks are good for our mental state at any state of motherhood, really. Walks are really good. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about, establish our relationship, for everybody that's watching, and how we met. It's like over a decade, some decade and some years now, right? Or if I'm, I'm
I
getting
feel
old, so
I feel like it might be right over a decade. I believe Shine Boston happened in 2011 or 12.
yeah,
And we're in
yeah,
23. So yeah, just a little bit over a decade for sure.
yeah, for sure. So we met through church,
Yes.
the Morning Star, Matthew Borders,
John is what he goes by now.
John. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry, John. Um, and Nyell were hosts of Shine Boston, which was a platform for our artists, local artists in the city to, showcase their gifts, their God-given gifts. And Nyell, you could talk a little bit about it. She's hosted in, a few different things. So if you could talk a little bit about Shine Boston and what that was. And that's really kind of how we met in the arts community space. So you could talk about that a little bit, touch on it.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we were approaching and attempting this idea of something similar to an Apollo, right? So when I say we, John Matthew Borders and I, we had this vision. He came to me with this idea, and I had just actually finished. I went to trade school, Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And at the time, I had done internships with Jam 94.5, and I was doing on air stuff with Hot 97 Boston. So Matt was like, "You're the perfect person. You're already used
Yeah.
to talking and being on stage, and you know everybody." So yeah, we had an amazing time, and I still am really connected to most people from that time. I think there was something really beautiful and divine about us collectively bringing our talents together. Some really beautiful relationships and things have grown from that season in time, if we really think about it. It was really kind of a transformative and pivotal time. And it's funny, I prayed for us today before this conversation.
Oh,
I always pray
yes,
for us.
for sure.
Um, but Matthew 5:16 was the foundation of our whole entire programming, and just
Let your light so shine.
letting your light so shine.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if I think about my trajectory as a mindfulness coach and a spirituality, expert or guru, whatever words people like to use when they work with me, that inner light, that shine, that like that is who we are at essence, is like we are made of the same things as stardust. So, and we actually had a star as our logo, so it's
Yes,
really interesting. Yeah, thank you for bringing
yes,
that up. Look at the universe creating this
for
beautiful.
sure. No, I
Yeah,
like to talk about, these full circle moments, because sometimes we can forget like the amazing things that we've done
yeah,
and how it connects to even where we are today,
yeah,
and I know on my journey I've needed people to remind me like, well, remember you did that. And because sometimes you can just really forget, just being in the hustle and bustle of life and just trying to get to the next level, that we do ourselves a disservice not building ourselves up to be like, I did that. Oh yeah, like I did that. And so I know I can do even more. And I know that you're good on camera. You're good
thank you.
on camera. You're good, you're great on camera, and you have a great personality. And so you never know where it's going to go to now, with your wellness chats, or even anything else, any other endeavor that will grow. And so I just wanted to speak to that. So
Thank
yes, that's how we first, officially met, and we kept in touch, and our relationship grew. I just think out of our ambitions,
you. Yeah,
our love for God, and just like our love for community and the arts,
yeah,
and media. And somehow we always kind of like cross paths, even though we weren't like physically
and
like,
just yeah,
near each other.
yeah.
And so, you don't ever like lose those connections. But anyway, I'll tell this quick story before we get into the the conversation, because I feel like it'll flow, and it's who you are. So when we kept in touch, over the years, I was in school, I was, getting my master's, or then I, lived in upstate New York for a little while. But then I came back to Boston, and, or I was coming back during the breaks while in school. And, me and Nyell often connect. I was like, I don't have a job, or I need more income. And she, and at that time, everybody was either like freshly getting out of college, or freshly getting out of college and they already had like really good jobs. So, everybody was just trying to secure something. We had the recession, all of those things. And so, especially in Boston, I'm pretty sure it's like that other places, but people like to hold on to resources, like,
Yep.
and I love to come across people where you're giving things away unselfishly, but
Mhm.
intentionally at the same time. I felt like you knew my skills, you knew my heart and my character enough to where you're like, girl, hit up, I got this contact. Like, not just saying like go to this temp agency. Like, you're like, this is my person, this is their phone number, this is their email, and send your resume. And that has always stuck with me, because yes, it helped me at that time, you know, at it was a stepping stone, but it also was just like, wow, there really are like great people in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't any like competition. It was real, like genuine, like you need to be doing this and you need to be making this amount of money. And so make sure you say this. And so I'll never forget that. And so I want to express that and say thank you publicly for that.
It's my
And I
pleasure.
think that has been the foundation of why we have always come back together, and I have received you, in the way that I have, because it's just a chemistry there. So I appreciate you.
No, I am so grateful for you giving me my flowers now to say, and to be honest, like I really do my best to try to hold space for people. So I'm grateful that not many people remember, not many people look back and say like, oh, I wouldn't have had this experience if you weren't willing to share your resource. So I want to thank you for taking the time and being the type of person to recognize that, because I think that that's also why we vibe, right? Because we have the same vibration in terms of the giving and receiving. So it's
For
always
sure.
my pleasure. And I'm always, yes, advocating for us to make more money, to ask for more, to know our worth. Like you said, especially in a city where people hold out on resources, including employers and big businesses or whoever we're working with. So knowing
Mm-hmm.
your worth is important for sure.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I want to shout out. We have two birds at play. Maria, love to you, Queens. Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you stay and share, like, invite people for the conversation. I know it's going to be really, 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 really powerful. So, all right, we are going to get into the conversation of motherhood.
Yes.
So, uh, Nyell, you are let I want to give you the floor to introduce yourself, and especially in this new season, because I want to give you space to say who you are and like what you're about.
Well, thanks so much for that. And right now, I feel like my primary identity role is Ella's mom, right? Like, I am a 24/7, 365. Not yet,
Gotta be.
but yeah, I am a hands-on deck single mom who is really, really excited about the transformation of self. A big part of like what we've already talked about is like our evolution and where we started and where we're going. And this really feels like a new time in my life, like a new journey. What I've been doing trade wise and practice wise is, I'm a yogi, I'm a mindfulness coach, I'm a mindset coach, I'm a healer in the community. And a lot of my work has just been trauma responsive because I myself have had, unfortunately, a lot of trauma that I faced personally in my life. So, like we talked about that spirit of giving, I've
Right.
always wanted to give back in the way of just helping people find peace, or helping people see things from a different space or a different light. So in this season, I'm not holding as much public community space, but I am caretaking for my mom who's going through life transitions, who has glaucoma and has lost her vision. So, like, that's a big adjustment for her. So, I am a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend. And I'm embracing all aspects and parts of myself in this season. When I get back into the world, I really want to be an advocate for Black moms, for Black single moms, for moms who have complicated situations, for moms who might have partners, but their partners are not fully present. That is what is tugging on my heart, and I'm taking my time with that. But yeah, that's who I am right now in this season. It's just, a mindful mama.
Yes, a mindful mama. I'm glad you ended with that, because as you
Mhm.
were saying all these things, I was just like, that just makes up your whole makeup. You're a mindful mama. It's
Yeah.
all in there.
Mhm.
I love that. Thank you. Embracing all of you in this season, and discovering new parts of yourself, even how like you're navigating. So I want to ask, you said, you're 24/7, you're taking care of Ella, also taking care of your mom. uh Big blessings to you and your mom, for for anyone who's caregiving, for a parent or a family member. It is something, it's hard, it's challenging, it brings up a lot of emotions, dually, because it's like, I'm speaking because my mom was going through cancer, and she's now free of it, thank God, thank
Thank God.
Jesus for
Yeah.
that report. And you know even we've been aligned like that and didn't know at one point,
Right.
both caregiving for our moms. But there's just so much that comes with that. And I think that there's so much realization about ourselves through the process of caregiving. And yeah, it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of patience. And but I think that you definitely can handle it. And I don't say that from a place of, oh, you're a Black woman, you're strong. it's one of those like your makeup and the inner solid, and God has you anyway. There's just things on a, heavy is the head that wears the crown, so that's really it,
Yep.
God doesn't put more on us than we can bear. I know that may sound cliche, but it is really true, and we always grow through the process. So during this time as a new mom, I think you're like 2.5, 3 months in now, how, like, take us to how it is for you and where you are mindset wise. On Mummy Mondays, we explore all types of journeys, moms who may be singles, moms in complicated situations. I've been in complicated situations throughout my journey of motherhood. It's about being real, transparent, and vulnerable. There's been moms who have been married, moms with blended families. So I like to have a, a variety of moms and guests who can speak to certain situations that I know people are, faced with challenges and don't know how to navigate. And that's why we have these conversations. And so thank you, first of all, before you start, for your vulnerability and your transparency. But can you just take us to where you are now in your journey as a single mom, the things that have been going through your head and that you've kind of healed from, still healing from? Take us to where you are right now.
So, full transparency, I have a lot of gratitude for my situation. Being that I'm in my like older 30s, like I've gotten a lot of things out of my system. I think if I was 10 years younger, I probably would not be as poised or as calm as I am right now. I remember having a friend say to me one time she was grateful for having mature parents because her parents had her when they were older. And I feel like that is one of the primary like anchors, is that I'm mature enough to handle the complications that have come with this season of life. I'm 3 months, Ella will be 4 months on the 19th. So I'm almost 4 months into realizing so much about myself, right? To just like recognizing that prior to having a child, because I wasn't married, being a single woman in the world, sometimes we do perceive ourselves to be strong and take on too much, and we accept things at times because we are strong in a way that like could be really not, I don't like to use the word detrimental because I believe that my path is aligned. I think my judgment definitely has been off in relationships, and that is 1,000% transparent and real. And I know that every time I look into my face, my daughter's face, right? Yesterday was Easter, Resurrection Sunday. I see the light of God in my daughter's face. I see what life can come from such a dark, almost like killing me softly ass moment in life.
Yeah.
Where I have to pull myself together every day and make sure that I'm meditating, I'm breathing, I'm doing body scans, I'm offering myself loving kindness, I am listening to podcasts, I am eating live foods, because I have a really toxic, unfortunately, and weird dynamic with my child's father. So we talked about this, I think, initially, where or in our pre-interview, where became crystal clear to me maybe like 4 weeks in, after certain interactions, that if I did not center Ella and I's happiness and peace, that it was over for me. Like I wasn't going to be able to be the mom that I need to be to her if I was allowing myself to not do the work, the healing work, like. And we can talk a little bit more in depth about what that might look like, because I think it's important for me to offer tonight, like we said, really tangible ways to like release and to face really ugly, uncomfortable, complicated relationships. And you said transparent, so I think all of us have them, right?
All of us have them,
All
and
of
we
us,
need to tell them more,
right?
and be I get that it takes courage, to be vulnerable, to be transparent, but we need more of it because I think less darkness in these situations would be happening because more people would be talking about it and sharing their experiences, and it'd be like, girl, I mean, you can do what you want, but I got to let you know this is, and I think if we were more loving to ourselves first and, to each other around like what it means to like value yourself, a lot would be different.
For sure. For sure. And it's been a step-by-step process for me. Like I'll tell it how it goes, right? When I found out I was pregnant, and I had the initial conversation with my child's father, I was iced, right? So I had all of this time to myself because we weren't in communication. I can't say we had negative conversation. We had no conversation, which was also really difficult and hard, where I had to start to just use my mindful practice and get into practicing awareness and starting to like observe and not allow my mind to tell those stories about like what it was going to be, and just like was presently with whatever was happening. And the more time went by, I was able to equip myself in my tool belt with informed information. It wasn't like what I told myself, it was the facts, right? Like all this time has gone by. This person has not been present. If you choose to move forward in either way, know that this is the caveat in which you are dealing, right? Because I think sometimes we will try to change and fix things in ourselves and people without giving it space and time to unfold. And then we self-sabotage is a word that is real. And I'm speaking from experience. Like I've been there, done that. Not maybe with the child's father. This is a brand new situation for me. But in past relationships where I preemptively tried to fix something that was broken, right? Like it ain't, sis, it is done. Right? So every day is a new day to just like look at my daughter, to look at myself, to be present with this opportunity to do better, because like we all lapse in judgment, right? I refuse to use the word mistake when it comes to Ella, but we lapse in judgment at times in a way that could be detrimental. And like I was saying one day, I was talking to my dad, and my dad's like, you're one of the realest people I know because you speak so emphatic, so honestly about how you landed in this space of being a single mom. And like so many women waste time trying to like live a story instead of being with what is, right?
Yes. It's a lot about the 2 A's, acceptance and accountability. And it sounds like you are practicing both. And it's not that you have arrived at both where you're all good, but those are things that you're leaning into to help you navigate through these. And that's what I'm hearing, the acceptance of, hey, like, this is what it is. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, you could ask why. Of course, you've asked why, but you have to get up and you have to do what you have to do. And you have to be in the most peaceful mindset to do it. You have to be full. And if you're wasting your time trying to figure out, especially for somebody and anybody, who's listening to this, who is not responsive to you, that's kind of your answer,
Right. And I think, spending so much time with your thoughts can either be a good or a bad thing. So like, let's talk about the first mindful practice, right? Like we have almost 70,000 thoughts that might occur to us throughout the day. So when you sit in meditation or you sit in mindful practice, it's almost like you open up a file cabinet and you start to put away the things that no longer serve you, put that to the back, and put to the front the things that you want to focus on. So even the most positive person has negative thoughts. They just choose not to focus in that direction in a way that, because your thoughts and your emotions are connected. You can't think negatively and feel positive. You just cannot do it. Right. So sometimes people are like, oh, it's really hard. I can't do that. And I say, but it's also hard to suffer. It's also hard to feel like a victim. It's also hard, and I'm not judging that, because there are times where we are victimized by people, where there are times where we are
Right.
deceived and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And they are also lessons, right? They are also opportunities. I don't care. There's a thing about me that some people either love or hate, but this is what it is, right? I get off on being better every day. I am, my daughter is going to always know what the lines are in which we are supposed to show up and operate in this world, and navigate those, because I think there's a way to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depression is a device of the devil. Confusion, they say the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Confuse.
Yep.
So anytime we're in that energy, we know that that is not like for our highest good, that it is not
That's
for,
not God energy, for
it's not
sure.
God energy. We're not vibrating high like everybody
Nope.
likes to hashtag and say. So if the, right? Sorry.
Like, yeah.
I'm just saying, right? Because it's a energy. It's a real thing, right? It's that love, heart chakra. Like, it takes a moment to cry, snot cry, tears cry. Another thing that I do a lot of is like yoga is my like energetic release. So like sometimes I get into child's pose and I literally will like release, like I will affirm I am strong, I am healed, I am safe, I am loved, I am seen, I am heard, I am powerful, right? Like, I will get through this. I am angry at this person and they will not control me. Like, whatever my spirit feels it needs to release, I will let go in certain asanas and certain yoga poses, because I feel like life is really hard and it's ugly, and I could be a mess every single day. I literally could be a mess every day. But like you said, God is giving me the tools that I feel like it's my job to use them. Like, how dare I have this privilege of this knowledge, of these tools, of these skills, and to sit in my unhappiness would be sinful to my, in my opinion.
That is a great way to think about it. And also, that's the way I think about things as well. Like, to whom much is given, much is required. And not saying that we can't have bad days or, feel what we feel, because I believe in taking a moment to feel what you feel, because you have to in order to process it. But who am I to sit back and not be in the everyday purposeful work? Like, that's part of like the pressing on, and like pressing through the depression. It's just another perspective. So thank you so much for those tools. That was really helpful, and I know that will be helpful to someone. Also, just this time and space to release. Like, did you ever feel like, I'm feeling so many negative things? Did you ever feel like I'm being too much of a crybaby? Or like, did those thoughts enter your mind and you're just like, nah, I got to get this out. I got to do what I have to do to release? Because sometimes I get those thoughts, like, all right, it's the battle of like, okay, to whom much is given, much is required. I got to snap out of it. Who am I to, like, God has given you all these things, but also like, I'm really feeling down, or I'm not feeling myself, So it's those conflicting thoughts.
I don't think they're conflicting. I think it's a road to one. It's the pendulum in which we operate. Like, you wouldn't land on this beautiful understanding about your relationship with God and the power that is within you if you weren't broken, or you weren't on your face about whatever the trial or the tribulation is. I will say this, when you asked that question, all I could think about was my pregnancy and how emotional I was throughout my pregnancy.
Mm.
I kept saying to my therapist, because I go to therapy every week and I've been going. I'm like, yo, how come nobody told me about pregnancy hormones? I'm the mindfulness coach. I'm supposed to be cool. I'm supposed to, and I'm crying over food, or I'm crying at a red light, or I'm crying because my shoe, like the dumbest things. I couldn't get my shoe on. Like, something happens throughout pregnancy. And I honestly think that the sensitivity that we feel, hormones, is to prepare us for keeping a human alive, right? In my case, Ella came home 4 pounds, right? She was preterm, and she was 4 weeks early in terms of her delivery date. So like, I did not sleep. I did not, like, all I had the ability to do was care for my baby for the first like 4 or 5 weeks, right? Like walking around in some type of a trance. If it was not for those hormones, I don't believe that I would be able to do this. It is something godly. It is something that the women are equipped with. But once again, without mindfulness tools, without my sound bowls, without my walks, without my community, right? Without my mindful moms who I can lean on, who had been where I had been, and gave me the reassurance that this too shall pass. I was out of body, like literally could not. One of my favorite things now is started to feel more like I can respond and not react in a way that I could not do throughout my pregnancy. And that's full transparency, right? And it caused me to actually not talk to a lot of people. So to be clear, even to this moment, a lot of people who were in my life prior to pregnancy are not a part of my life anymore, right? Putting up boundaries, whatever you want to call it, because I am such a giver, because I am a community healer. The way that I was giving of my energy, the way that people would tug on me, the way people would dump on me, I took it completely slow throughout my pregnancy in that way, where I started releasing people left and right, releasing anything that felt like it was going to be disruptive. Because like I said, I already had all these like background things that are life obstacles that are in my life that I have to deal with. I was like, yeah, some of these people got to go. And now that I have her, maybe there are a couple of those people who I can say like, yes, I need to like circle back around or spin the block on. But some of it, I'm like, yo, if I never had my daughter, I wouldn't have realized how subservient I was being, right? Or how cathartic my relationships could be with people, including with my child's father. Like, what purpose were we serving in each other's lives? Fortunately, I have a beautiful baby out of it, but I don't know that I would have ever been able to see him. I know for a fact I wouldn't have been able to see him for who he is to me, right? Who he is to other people is different, and I will give him that. Because that's life, right? I could be the worst person to somebody, and then you go and talk to you, and you're like, yo, Nyell's my dog, right? So life is complicated. Once again,
it's very complicated. It is very complicated. How do you, when you wake up every day, I'm pretty sure that there's better days than others. Like, there's some days that you're like, okay, I woke up really positive. Then there's other days and it's like, I'm feeling a little something. How do you navigate that in that very moment?
Great question. I never understood why I became a mindfulness person, coach, follower, believer until, once again, becoming a mom in my pregnancy, right? It is always, my goal is always to be back in the center of my being, to be grounded, right? So on those mornings, I am so gentle. And I don't know if I shared this with you, but I started to have to tell myself this thing. One of my favorite consciousness spiritual coaches, her name is Abraham Hicks. And she talks about the path of least resistance. So when I found I had a C-section, I couldn't drive, I couldn't exercise, I couldn't do any of the things that were centering to me. I just had to stop doing things, period, right? So the goal started to be Did we eat? Did we bathe? Did we get some sunlight? Like really minimizing, and I'm still in that space, minimizing the obstacles that I put in front of me, because there's always going to be things that need to be done, right?
For
And
sure.
people have a tendency to always want to tug on you when you're no longer available, right? So that was also another thing that I had to kind of be careful with. Like all of a sudden, people want to rock with you or tap into what you're doing when I've been doing this for 5 years. It like, no, this time is for my baby. So like
Right.
I spend my goal every day, and to give literal tools once again, right? Because this is my lifestyle, so I forget to like literally. Number one, that smoothie in the morning, like putting something alive in my body first. So kombucha, herbal tea, a smoothie are the first, or actual fruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, bananas in a bowl, making sure that whatever goes in my body is going to activate me, and we're live beings. So the food should be live too, first. Second, insight timer is something I live off of. And I also have my own meditation album. And like, you never know that you're into what you're into until you start using your tools for yourself.
Right.
But I stream my own meditation album a lot, and I will like, if the baby's napping, just shut down my senses and let the meditation app play. Sleeping is another big thing that I do to get myself back into center. And then the walks, right? Like really making sure that if I can give myself 30 to 45 minutes outside, don't worry about how bummy I look. Don't worry about who am I.
Mhm.
All of that out the window. Get my baby, myself in the car, and take a walk.
Yeah.
So
You're
yeah, everybody.
prioritizing yourself. And I
That's it.
love that you said minimizing, like you're minimizing the list of like what needs, like it's just necessities and things that are gonna bring you joy, bring Ella joy, the sunlight, making sure that you have something alive in your body. I really like that you said like minimizing, because a lot of times we have so much going on in our heads, and it's so much to it takes so much to process one thing, especially as a new mom too. I remember mommy brain. I remember like, where is this? I still forget sometime now, but especially during that time. So it's just, you have to give yourself grace, love yourself. And I love that you said minimize, like that minimal list, but
Yep.
it still keeps everything intact and it
Yep.
keeps your mind and heart intact.
And when I start to feel a little crazy, I remind myself I'll never have Ella's infancy again. Like this is a
Exactly.
one-time shot. Every wise mom, every professional woman who I respect and look up to said to me, never allow money or work or outside things to stop you from being present with your child, especially when they're this small, because you don't get the time back. And I
Right.
listen, right? Like if it sounds
Mhm.
smart and it or wisdom is attached to it, I'll take it and put it in my toolbox. So yeah, like right now, I am like the path of least resistance, as little as possible,
I love it.
as
I
long as
love
I'm cared
it. And
for.
you don't have to be doing something grand. We talked a little bit in the pre-interview, um, off record, about what success looks like,
Yes.
and I
Yep.
think, before we were both mothers, when we met, I think we were, not that we're still not about our purpose and our path, and I think it's a little bit more defined, obviously, now, all
Yep.
these years as mothers, but we were so ambitious, like about our careers, or just wanting to be even like validated, by others, by ourselves, and rightfully so. I think that can be a little healthy at some time, at some points. But you know going back to me when Avery was small, I can attest to the time goes by fast. It goes by slow but fast,
Yep.
and you do not get that time back. And I was so like ready to just jump into work. All these opportunities were coming my way, but nothing was coming through. Like it was just like, it would be like a high, then a low, then it's like you lift me up to let me down. And one day I just was just like, Avery is still like in his infancy, like, not even 1 yet. And even after 1, I still call him like a baby up to 3 because
Yeah.
they're still developing, you know? And I was just like, Lindsey, since nothing is popping off, what can you be doing in this time? Like, this is your greatest gift and assignment, you know?
Yep.
Um, Maybe you're thinking about the money, how you're going to provide, what kinds of activities you can do, but maybe this is what you both need, you
Yep.
know? Because if I was chasing after the other things and if God had let me have those opportunities, because they weren't coming through for a reason, you know, it
Yep.
was to redirect my mind. It was like you keep failing. You're not really failing, but it's just not working out. It's not working out. So it just causes you to think differently. And I wouldn't change that for the world. I spent so much time with Avery and I see the fruits of it today. You
He's
know,
amazing.
at first I didn't understand, but once I got into the groove of it, I'm like, we're here, we're there, we're outside, we're doing like the minimal things, but things that, you know, the walks, the trails, you know, playing with bubbles, just the smallest things, going to the library, things that are free in the city, you know, um, and exposure. And nothing is more valuable than that time. Like,
No,
so I would attest to that. And I'm saying enjoy it. Like,
thank you.
enjoy the next 3 to 5 years. Like, seriously. And I want to touch on, you know, we talked a little bit about it, like just women being successful and what we think success it looks like as mothers, especially if we're, you know, own a business, founders, you know, working 9 to 5, you know, having managerial roles, but it doesn't define us. You know, you can have all those things and your kid never see you, or you never spend time with them. You don't know how they're developing. So what does success mean to you as a mom, and how do you want to chart that out, even like in the future? How are you looking at that in the future?
So for me, the three things that come to mind when I think about success are health, wealth, and wisdom, right?
Wow.
So for me, health is being able to be able-bodied, my organs to be intact, to still be able to go on excursions, simpler or, you know,
Extravagant, yeah.
extravagant or complicated with my daughter
Mm-hmm.
or my future husband. All those things, I want to be able to live a full life, right?
Yeah.
I am really privileged and blessed to have broken through the matrix. I don't see things the way a lot of people. This is a whole nother podcast, but you know, I have liberated
We got
myself.
that platform for you. Don't worry.
um I've liberated myself in terms of like believing that the 9 to 5 or any job is the end all be all. So to me, success is continuing to operate in this space of providing services that sustain myself and the people around me. Success to me is also having peace of mind and like being like solid on the inside, having a spiritual life, always staying connected to God by all means necessary, keeping God in the center of everything, is success to me.
Yes.
I know lots of people with financial access to finances, but they're morally poor, or they lack values, or they work themselves to the bone, so then their bodies are failing them. And because I've seen this, and because being a Black woman in society, being on our backs, is actually something that I resist. Right, I peacefully resist the grind culture. And to me, success is luxury, is being able to get up and choose what your day looks like every single day based on what your needs are. um I started working when I was 14 years old, right? Like probably
Mm-hmm.
younger than that. Like I've had summer jobs, but really always worked. So by the time I was 32 years old and I started this small business as a healer, 33 years old, it became very crystal clear to me that if I worked hard enough, I would be able to take care of myself and my needs. So to me, success is maintaining that. Not to say if I ever had to go get a formal job that would not make me successful, but that is not the end game for me ever, right?
Right.
Um, So yeah.
Nice. I love it. You gave a lot of what success means to you, and I think that's going to be helpful for others as well. I'm sorry, I'm looking a little. Avery's making a whole bunch of noise on the other
No,
side,
I
so I'm
can't.
just
We
like,
can't hear it.
but
So you're
like,
good.
um, actually, give me 1 second.
Yep.
Actually,
Take your
okay.
time. No problem. No
One
problem.
second.
No problem.
Let me.
Mommy Monday.
Hi.
Keeping it real. This is
Keeping
Mommy
it real. I mean, this
Monday.
is the real, and I held myself as long as I could because it was going on for like 10 minutes. I'm hearing jelly beans drop and all, and it's just like, mindful mama though, what's going on?
Conscious parenting.
Yeah, of course. Happy Mummy Monday to you too, Maria. This has been really, 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 really great so far. Well, we're coming on like 11 minutes left, 11 or 12 minutes left. I do kind of want to, and I hope you're okay with this. So, you talked about it in the beginning, the relationship with you and, your child's father and it,
Yep.
just being estranged. We touched on something in the pre-interview that I think is very, very powerful. And you were very transparent just about where you were personally while dealing, with him. And I think you gave just a really good perspective of like what you needed at that time, but also like thinking about why you needed those things at those time and really dissecting, well, what were you lacking at that time that ended you in this situation. And I felt like that was real big accountability of you. And I think as women, we need to do more of that. You
Thanks.
know, your situation is your situation, but plenty of moms, including myself, have had, different situations, whether it's, wanting to control or make the relationship work or make it look like something that it's not yet or never will be. I'm not, trying to speak negative because I think that there always is positivity that grows throughout the years, with parenting, co-parenting, or even relationship wise, people getting back together and all those things. However, I just think that we need to, as women especially, take more accountability for, were you in a complicated situation? Was it exclusive? Was it not? And if you could talk about that, I think that was really, really, really powerful. And it will also empower other moms and women to be like, let's think realistically here. And because I think accountability also brings healing, and it also takes away the stress because it's like you're no longer running on the hamster wheel for something that's never going to change or just not going to change in the season that you want it to.
Yeah, so I think this is interesting for me because I definitely never saw myself, like, all I think about is like the conversation, the piece of us getting back together, us being together. I never saw myself in relationship with my child's father. I think what we were talking about was my childhood trauma and how, like, since I was younger, I grew up with this sense of needing to be validated and seen and loved by everybody and appreciated by people. And I was actually going through a lot of personal things in my life where I was not experiencing that. I was not feeling validated in my work. I was not feeling validated in my family relationships and my friendships. And I allowed this person to hold space in my life for so long because it was an inconsistent kind of like, when I am around you, I'll make you feel seen, but I might not talk to you for months at a time. So like, as I shared with you, we hadn't talked in an extended period of time. And then there was this intention to come back and be cordial that landed in the birth of my child. So like, for me, I think from very much the beginning, I had to think about like, what does it mean for us to co-parent? Because like, me and him are not together. And I had no question in my mind that I was having my child. Like, that was just it. That from an age perspective, where I was in life and spiritually where I'm at, there was no question about it. And at the time, I don't think we talked about this, but this is when all of the pro-life abortion rights stuff was going on last year. Mm-hmm. So there was this like larger conversation around a woman's right to choose that was happening. And me honestly feeling like it was never verbalized to me, but there was this desire for me not to move forward with my pregnancy full term. So I immediately had to start to face the reality of the fact that I'm most likely going to be a single mom. And I landed here because for the longest time, I neglected this aspect of my life. I call myself doing all this healing work. I say that I'm on top of it all, but this was a part of myself that I buried very deeply, that was very personal and private. Nobody's ever going to see this side of me because this is the creeps come out at night kind of. Yeah. The definition of shadow work, right? And I recognize that since about 15, 16 years old, there's been this inability to connect with men in a way that was healthy for me. And like, some women might call it daddy issues. I was raised in a single parent home. I try to be very careful with words because people have similar situations, but the impact and the influence is different. Right. But we are nurture versus nature. We are who raised us, and where we were raised and how we were raised deeply impacts how we show up. So I had to go to therapy and start to look at this side of myself and go back and revisit her and have a conversation with my younger self and say, hi, we've landed here, right? Our lapse of judgment now has given us this tremendous responsibility, this grand reminder of what happens when we lack self-love, when we don't put ourselves first, when we don't demand and stand in what we deserve in partnership, in relationship with people. Like, I neglected that side of myself in a way that I know that I'll never be able to again. And I have a daughter. So now whatever I do is going to be acceptable to her. Kids do as we do, not as we say. Right. So yeah, I had to really, and I continue to do the work and talk to my therapist around how that part of me shows up professionally and family relationships and romantic relationships and friendships, where that seeking validation, that lack of connection and human feeling seen and heard could really land me in some bad, vulnerable places with people who don't care, right? And I don't want to make my child's father sound like I don't know what he's feeling. We don't talk. We don't communicate. I don't want to say he doesn't care, but a person who chooses to be absent to this degree, it's kind of, you can assume a lot of things, right? And who knows?
It gives you no choice but to assume.
Right. And who knows what the future holds. And I want to land on this last piece to this is compassion for myself first, compassion for me, and compassion for him, because nobody stays the same, and things may change, and to know that I made the best decision I could have made with the information I had when I did that. And now it's my job to just do better for myself so that my daughter has a solid, happy, holistically well mom, right? Because that's what it's about. It's like nothing, what's good for mom is good for baby, right? Or good for the home. So
yeah. And even with that navigation, you're having compassion for yourself, but you're also choosing your heart too,
Yes.
because it goes back to that choice. And yes, using the tools, it's not always easy. It's not something that we always want to do, because we could be thinking, why can't things be just straightforward and easy?
Yep.
But hats off, blessings, and kudos, and much respect and celebration for you, for Ella, for Ella's dad, and everything that will come to fruition with with the whole dynamic. But kudos to you for choosing the right hard and using the tools that has made you successful and will continue making you a successful, mindful mama.
And I wanna also offer that, like, there is an intention to share, right? To create something. We didn't really get a chance to talk about my experience with the hospitals, but I think but that's okay.
That
And
could
I'll
be
tell you,
you know what, that could be a part too, because I feel like there's so many, nuances with that one.
yes,
And yeah, we're gonna really break down that one
yeah,
for
yeah, that
sure.
was different. That was different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hmm.
so I just want to say that there is an intention to share as much as possible, from a vulnerable but safe space. So, and I'm figuring that piece out. It's just like, what does it look like to pour back into women who are in similar situations as mine, who are coming behind me, who are ahead of me, and how can we have this information share in this community that we build that
Right.
feels inclusive and accessible. So that's the thought that on my mind and my heart, but I'm still very much in new mommy mode. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yes, I can't wait to see what the near future, the way future for you and Ella, what that holds for you. I feel like it's just going to open up a whole new um, host of opportunities, new trajectory of lifestyle, of living, abundant living. And I'm speaking it all into existence. And you're doing the work every day. And we see you. Where can the people find you?
So my website is nyellsmindfulnessservices.com. On Instagram, I am at NYE_JEU. So the first three of my first name, the first three of my last name. And if honestly, if you Google me, and that sounds funny to say, but if
No,
you
so Google
Google me,
me.
baby. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, so if you put my name in the Google search engine, you can also find my books at
Yep.
letsreflect.org. Those books were intended for young women of color even before I became a mom. So yes, please.
Look at that. Look at
Um,
God even in that. It's like a
yes,
guide. You can go
yeah,
back to your own work.
exactly, exactly. God is tremendously, tremendously good, and I'm grateful for the grace that I have of my life, for this friendship, for
Yeah.
your platform, for all the beautiful women who preceded me in this process, because I am really excited that I got to join the posse of moms
Uh,
who have blessed your beautiful platform, and I know many of them. So super
yes.
excited to be a part of this gang, 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 gang.
Yes, for sure. And I was looking at some of the guests beforehand. I know some of them, your family, I think Karen, and it's just I'm so grateful for all of you. I'm so grateful for this conversation, for this episode, and like the full circle moment of just it's just coming all back around. And I couldn't, do this without you all, and I thank you that you trust me to be so transparent and be so vulnerable. I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. And I believe that we all should share our stories so that we don't feel alone. And I think, go ahead.
You're the soundbite queen. So thank you for allowing me to tell my story. I think there's some level of curiosity for certain people. So thank you for giving me a dignified way to talk about
I
something so
appreciate
important.
that. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And like I said, there's also healthy validation as well, too. You know what I mean? From peer to peer, friend to friend, mom to mom. And it feels good to hear those things because it encourages you more to dive into them and, know that it's your purpose. So I appreciate you for that. And this has been amazing. This has been amazing. Thank you, Nyell,
I
Judy,
love you.
and Ella for letting your mama come and talk about all of her mindful mama practices and her journey with you so far. We're overjoyed to have you on the platform. And this is not the last time you'll be on the platform. As I said, we're going to talk about Black maternal health. And I think that'll be even a bigger one, maybe with even more people on it
That'd
to
be great.
talk from different perspectives, some people in medicine as well, Black moms. So I'm really, really excited. And get back to taking care of Ella.
Thank
Kiss her
you.
for me, and we definitely will see each other. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel Mummy Mondays, and we're gonna keep growing this thing. Okay. All right, everybody, have a great night. Happy Mummy Monday. We'll see you the
Love
next
you.
time.